Hi, I'm excited to be here with you today to talk about prioritization. Several of you have mentioned to me that when you don't prioritize effectively, it causes a lot of stress, it leads to overwhelm. And so I thought I would do this video on how you can learn to let go of that overwhelm, what it's actually costing you if you don't let go of the overwhelm and you don't learn how to prioritize. And then I'm going to give you some really interesting tips, some very unique tips on how to prioritize better and how to get out of the overwhelm. So, when we look at prioritization, I mean, let's face it, we all have a lot going on these days. We are juggling multiple tasks. Many of us are still working from home. You might have kids that are running around in the background. We've got all kinds of stuff going on. In addition, if you think about when you're sitting at your desk doing your work, you've got your cell phone, instant messenger, Facebook Messenger. You're tempted to go to social media. Maybe for some of you, you've said, no, I'm not doing that anymore. But those of us that are on social media, and have that active, we've got the messengers coming up. We've got all these different ways for people to get a hold of us. So it diverts our attention. And when it diverts our attention, we lose prioritizing things that are very important to us. So let's look at what happens when we're faced with a lot of things that we have to do in a day and we start to feel overwhelmed. First of all, when you start to feel that overwhelm in your body, it actually starts to affect what's happening inside of your body from a physiological standpoint. And what I mean by that is actually, I'm going to give you guys an experience that you can feel this right now. So I'm going to have you think about something in your life that you feel overwhelmed about, and you can have it around prioritization. Maybe you're listening to this video right now and you're going, I really should be doing XYZ. And you're feeling that sense of maybe it's anxiety that comes up. I'm going to invite you to really go in and feel that feeling. Feel how you feel when you're feeling overwhelmed. Feel how you feel when you have to prioritize something, but you just don't know what to do first because you have so much to do. And you can close your eyes to do this. When you're closing your eyes to do this, it helps to shut out the outside world, bring your attention inside, and just notice where you might be feeling some stress, anxiety, overwhelm. Maybe you're feeling it in the back of your neck. Maybe your chest is tight. Maybe your solar plexus. Just notice that. So, that feeling that you're feeling right now, that is very much related to stress, right? We talk about stress, and sometimes we hear being said so much, yeah, I have a lot of stress these days. But when we really take notice of how stress affects us, affects our bodies on a physiological level, you can feel what it's doing. And you've seen in some other threads in this group that I've posted what stress does to your body. Go back through and look at some of those posts, because stress actually leads to chronic stress, can lead to irritable bowel syndrome, obviously a racing heart, restless leg syndromes, not being able to sleep. Go back and look at that, because the good news about that is if you can control your stress and overwhelm, which I'm going to show you some tips to do today, you can actually start to release some of those physical symptoms. So, when you feel that, as you're noticing how you feel that in your body, I'm going to ask you, what do you do when you feel that? Most people, I'll give you some ideas. Most people say, I don't like feeling this way, so I'm going to get up and go get something to eat, or I'm going to get up and move, or I'm going to go check my social media, or let me look at my text messages. When we don't like the way we feel, oftentimes we'll look for a diversion to get a different feeling so we can feel that sense of relief. We can feel better. So what's your go-to when you're feeling overwhelmed, you're not prioritizing correctly, you're feeling that anxiety? What do? Exercise, eat chocolate. That's been my favorite. Some people drink. If it's after work hours, they'll go and have a cocktail. Just notice what you're doing, because you're trying to shift the way you're feeling when you're feeling that overwhelm around prioritization. So just notice that. Notice what you do to get relief. Then I'm also going to invite you to notice what you're telling yourself. When you're feeling that lack of prioritization or that overwhelm, Are you saying things to yourself like, I can't get it done? It's too much. How does my boss expect me to get all this stuff done in this short amount of time? What is it that you're telling yourselves? Because our language and our thoughts, our internal dialogue actually affects how we feel, which affects our physiology. So if you're in that place of not being able to prioritize and you're saying, I can't get it all done, and I'm feeling agitated or overwhelmed, now you're on this hamster wheel of a negative cycle. So when we look at that hamster wheel of negative emotions and talk, one thing that you may not know this, and it's pretty profound, is that if you change one emotion in your body, like if you're feeling pretty calm and cool and collected and something comes in where you feel anxiety and overwhelm, it literally changes 1,400 different chemical constituents in your body. 1,400. That's changing one emotion from like a renewing emotion such as peace, calm, to fear, worry, and anxiety. When that happens in your body, what we know it as, because obviously we can't feel all 1,400 different chemicals, what that happens in our body is the adrenals are activated, the cortisol levels increase. It shuts down the prefrontal cortex of the brain, the higher thinking centers of the brain. So we get brain fog. We can't think as clearly. So here's a couple of things that I'm going to give you to help you prioritize a little bit better and stop the overwhelm. So you might want to grab a pen and paper to write these down. So the first thing is stop and notice, meaning be aware of what you're feeling. Be aware of what you're thinking. So when you start to feel that overwhelm or that anxiety come up, or I can't, or saying things like, I can't get this done, notice it. Stop. Take a deep breath. And I'm going to encourage you to do nostril breathing versus just mouth breathing. Do the nostril breathing, deep breaths, inhaling to the count of 5 or 6, longer, deeper, slower breaths than what you normally take. And just do 5 rounds of those breaths. Notice if you're doing this with me right now, notice what's happening inside your body. You're probably getting a lot more oxygen in. Some people tell me, God, when I do this, I feel lightheaded, because you're getting more oxygen in your body. Taking those deep breaths makes a huge difference, not just on your mind, but on your physiology as well. And the other thing, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you, because I think that it's very helpful to see some visual representations of what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I'm going to share with you what's happening. When you take those long, deep breaths, what's happening is you're moving your heart rhythms. If I circle this right here, this is your heart rhythms right here. When we're in a state of fear or doubt or worry or overwhelm, it literally sends a signal to your brain, which shuts down, your brain goes into fight or flight. And as you're going into fight or flight, you can see this light bulb being off right here. It shuts down the higher thinking centers of your brain when you have that incoherent heart signal. That is characteristic of the thoughts of, I can't do this, I'm overwhelmed. It's characteristic of those feelings of anxiety and worry. Taking those deep breaths and noticing this is going to shift your heart rhythms into a state that we call coherence, which looks like this. A nice coherent frequency is being sent to your brain, which actually accesses the higher thinking centers of the brain. So as you're taking those deep breaths, you might start to be feeling, oh, I'm a little bit more clear-headed. And so that first step is stop and notice, then take those deep breaths to move from a state of incoherence to a state of coherence. So as you're doing this, you're probably starting to notice that right now. And so the next step after you take those nice deep breaths is to make a list. Maybe some of you guys do this every day already, but just make a list of your daily task. And the reason I say that is because when you make a list, it gets out of your head onto the paper. So your head is not filled with, oh, I forgot to do that, or I have to do that, or I have to do that, and that. When you make a list, it starts to free up some of the attention that you have inside of your head of all the things that you have to do. As human beings, we have a finite amount of attention, meaning that you think about things that, and you might say, I can't remember that, or I keep forgetting to do that. Our attention and what we put it on can eat up free attention to do other things. So, and that's a whole nother subject. If you're interested in that, put a chat in the box, or put something in the box that says, tell me more about attention, and I can do a live video on attention as well. The reason I say make a list is because you get that stuck attention in your head, put it on the list. Now you can just go back to the list so you don't have to remember everything. Now, when you make a list, I do encourage you to divide it into A, B, and C. A is the most important things that you have to get done today. B are those things that are not as important, they can wait until later. And C is, I'm going to do them today, but if I don't get them done today, I can move them to tomorrow. Now, when you look at that list, what I recommend is, as you write the A, B, and C, take the most important task that you have to do today that moves you closer to the goals that you're designed to accomplish. And those goals, you may have done your strategic plans for the new year and chunk those down into quarters, maybe chunk those down into weeks. What is the A on your to-do list today that will move the needle the most to get your goals accomplished? And that's a great question you can ask yourself. What will move the needle the most? Now, you might have a thought about that. Oh, okay, I'll do A. And like me, I'll just share with you on my A. Sometimes I go, oh, I really don't want to do that right now. It doesn't feel good to do that. I don't want to do that right now. So automatically, I have this thing to do. And if I go into, I don't want to do that right now, I don't like doing that, or that's not my forte, or whatever I say about it, I'm already setting up a judgment against myself to do that, which stops the flow of energy of me being able to accomplish that in a timely manner and with ease and with grace. So when I say I don't want to do something, it takes me back into that incoherent pattern that comes up to my brain. My favorite phrase is, I choose to make this fun and easy. Now, I may not in the moment, but when I say it to myself, I catch myself, I don't want to do that. Take that deep breath. I choose to make this fun and easy. I choose to make this fun and easy. Now, and you guys can say that to yourselves right now, you can actually feel a difference of what's happening inside of your physiology. It's very important, because when we get our physiology into balance, we can enter that flow state a lot easier. Now, here's probably the single most important thing I learned about how to follow through with my prioritization and get things done. And it's a technique that I call bunkering in. So the way that this technique works is, you've chosen your item on your list. Determine how much time it's going to take you to do it. It may take you an hour, it may take you 10 minutes, it may take you 3 days, whatever it is. Let's say it's going to take you 4 hours. You determine it's going to take you about 4 hours to do this. I chunk that 4 hours into smaller time segments, no more than 50 minutes at a time, because 50 minutes, there's been some research done in 50 minutes that's a great time to concentrate on something. After the 50 minutes, get up and take a walk, do something, kind of give your brain a rest, and then come back to the task. So let's go with that 4 hours. What I would do is say, okay, I've got 50 minutes right now. I'm going to do this thing uninterrupted for 50 minutes. Now, for some of you might go, yeah, 50 minutes is too long. Chunk it down into 20 minutes or 30 minutes. Pick the time, grab your phone, put your timer on. So I'm in this example, I put my timer on for 50 minutes. Now, bunkering in means that in those 50 minutes, I'm not going to get up. I'm not going to check my emails. I'm not going to check social media. I'm not going to check my text messages. I'm not going to check my instant messenger. Turn your phone to silent. If the kids are in the house, put a sign on the door. Bunkering in, working for the next 50 minutes, will be available at 12 noon or 1 o'clock, whatever time it is. You're bunkering in to be 100% present. Get your glass of water. If you feel like you're going to get hungry, get an apple, bring it and put it on your desk. set that timer. Once you set that timer, now here's what's going to happen. You're going to be bunkering it in and you're going to be completely present. But then this thought is going to creep in. Oh, I forgot to get the chicken at the store. Or, oh, I forgot to pay that bill. Whatever that thought is, it's going to come in and want to divert your attention. Just get your pen out, get your list, and write it on your list. I call it margin noting. Any thought that takes you out of that space, just write it down so you remember to do it later. It frees up some attention, which frees up some energy, and you can go and do that later. So margin note. Then the thing to do is to set your intention for that 50 minutes. In this 50 minutes, I will accomplish X, Y, Z, and then get the feeling of the emotional connection to that feeling once it's done. So you get your thoughts, your emotions aligned. Thoughts are here, emotions come from the heart. You're aligning that, you're moving into that coherence. As you're doing that, it gives you that flow of energy to stay present, to stay calm, and get done what it is you choose to get done. So those are my tips on how to prioritize a little bit better and to bunker in. I'd love for you guys to try this or actually do the bunkering in technique and then share with us what you learned. Share with us, maybe you're learning a lot from the breath. And bunkering in, remember, set the timer, margin note if things come up that grab your attention. And then in addition to that is make sure that you've got your mindset and your feeling aligned as you go in to do the task, and keep telling yourself that you can do this, because self-language is so important, what we say to ourselves. Okay, thanks. And we'll see you on the next live. Bye-bye.